I've been a power scaler for a couple years now, and every once in a while I get a request from a comment asking me to debunk someone's video for one reason or another. However, I have never in my entire YouTube career gotten so many requests to debunk or at least share my thoughts on a single video. That video being Death Battle's recent Omni-Man versus Bardock video. And yeah, I gotta say, this video completely flabbergasted me. I genuinely have no idea where they got some of the numbers they said in this video, and some of the information they present in their scaling is kind of just downright untrue. Worst of all, in my opinion though, they aren't even internally consistent with their own logic. By the numbers and feats they presented, Bardock should have won. This video is not an attack on Death Battle, they don't deserve harassment, and honestly, I'm happy that they were able to save their series from being cancelled forever through that community Kickstarter campaign. Without them, we wouldn't be having this exact power scaling conversations right now, and for that, I have to thank them. Still though, they messed up big time with this video, so let's get into it. If you do like this kind of stuff, please make sure to like and subscribe, or join the channel to see videos like this early. With out of the way, let's jump right in. To begin, I think it always bears repeating that I don't actually care what happens in the animation for the death battle. These animations are entirely for entertainment purposes, and the only thing that should be taken from them from a scaling perspective is the exact moment at the ending where one of the characters win. Therefore, I'm only looking at their character descriptions in the first half and then their conclusions at the end. To particularly show why their conclusion in this video is pretty bad, I will only be analyzing the feats that they personally present in this video. I won't whip out some sort of lowball anti-feat for Omni-Man or a secret galaxy level feat for Bardock, though I'll mention some stuff at the very end of the video. But now, let's look at the Omni-Man section of this video. The first relevant feat they bring up in this section is Omni-Man in a cartoon saying he redirected a meteor the size of Texas. They don't go into the details, but this would put Omni-Man's power, or at least his lifting strength, around moon level. They mention this feat of him traveling to Thraxa, a feat I've personally mentioned before, which gets him to hundreds of millions of times faster than light. Now, people have brought up issues with the exact speed scaling in Invincible, that they arguably actually warp time as they fly at relativistic speeds, or that they are constantly accelerating in the vacuum of space, meaning their MFTL speed scaling really isn't accurate to their actual speed in combat. Now, personally, I think other feats make it consistent that they actually can travel that fast, like Alan the Alien point blank dodging and reacting to ships that travel at these MFTL speeds, but they don't mention it, so I won't either, and just take this at face value. Of course, they then mention even faster feats, like the Viltrumites being billions of times FTL. Again, totally fine, I don't have an issue with these values. But now we reach the first part of the video that truly confused me, and that's when they bring up the two attack potency scales for Nolan, the Solar Disc and the destruction of planet Viltrum. The Solar Disc feat we'll cover first. According to them, this weapon isn't strong enough to damage Viltrumites, but is powerful enough to destroy a solar disc apparently half the size of a star. They don't go into detail with how strong they think this is until the end, where they say it is an 8,641 quettaton of TNT feat, making it DAR level. Now, there are a couple issues with this feat. Most importantly, there has never been an implication that Viltrumites can outright tank these lasers. They are the size of a person and moving at billions of times the speed of light according to Death Battle. The reason something like Space Racer's gun is so effective is that it's also fast enough to hit Viltrumites. You can't prove that this laser is fast enough to actually tag Omni-Man, and that's why it's not a threat to them. They also say that the ship can tank its own beam and that Conquest can destroy the ship, meaning they scale to it either way, but this cannon is clearly firing a laser beam. Lasers do not have mass or force in the same way a physical projectile with mass does. There is no equal and opposite reaction getting pushed back into the entire ship to say its durability is that high. And just generally in fiction and in real life, vehicles have weapons that are strong enough to damage themselves. Believe it or not, tanks can damage other tanks. Secondly, and more importantly, this calc is extremely highly disputed. For example, someone else calced this exact same feat and found it was only multi-continent level, which is far more consistent with the other feats we see within the Invincible verse. The next feat they talk about is the destruction of planet Viltrum. I don't really care about their methodology to get planet Viltrum to the size that they did. The main issue is that they act like Omni-Man was the only person who destroyed the planet. They just randomly say that they won't divide the value of the feat by 3, despite the fact fact that two guys comparable to Nolan in power are participating in it, with Thaddeus and Mark being literally right there. Furthermore, they conveniently leave out the part where Space Racer, again a guy with a Viltrumite killing gun, shoots the planet first and makes it destabilize, and regardless of this, the three of them verbatim would have died if they had not timed the attack correctly, meaning they just blatantly don't scale to the actual destruction of the planet. They did this just to put what they consider Omni-Man's worst feat over Bardock's best feat, which is King Vegeta destroying 3 planets, and even that feat they get wrong, which we'll get to in a moment. So yeah, both of these feats and scales for Omni-Man's AP that they use are just either completely missing vital information or really giving him an insane benefit of the doubt that they don't really explain where the values are coming from. However, the best part is, even using these completely unprecedented strength values they gave, Bardock still should have won. There are a couple really weird choices they make in the Bardock section of the video, like using a movie-only power level guide to say Goku's power level was 10,000 against Vegeta in the Saiyan Saga. Not only do we have official manga guides that actually give us the correct values and clearly show that he wasn't at 10,000, but the movie guides they use also say that Frieza's power level in his first form was 85,000, less than 20% of his actual 530,000 power level. In this video, they give Bardock a 9.5 trillion times the speed of light feat from Goku reacting to stuff while flying to Namek. Ignoring the fact that Goku's strength is unknown at this point, so it's really impossible to scale to Bardock, we'll just take Death Battle at their word and say that this scales to Bardock's speed. The real issue in this section is that they barely go into any details about Bardock's attack potency and spend more time justifying why he could go Super Saiyan. He scales almost identically to King Vegeta due to having a similar power level, who they say outputted 774 Ronatons of TNT or Brown Dwarf level. The issue with this is that even assuming these planets are just the size of Earth, this feat is more like 8 to the 42nd power joules, which is more like large star level. This means they likely, for some reason, assumed these were smaller than Earth-sized planets for some reason, while also saying Viltrum was 14 times larger than Earth, almost like they wanted to put more attention into the stuff that could get Nolan to be stronger than Bardock. If you've also been paying attention to the numbers, you may have noticed that base Bardock would exceed even that mega highball sun disk calc that they used. Aside from scaling stuff, they make a couple of other weird things, like trying to justify why Bardock could have gone Super Saiyan, or saying he couldn't control his grade 8 form. Both things you really just can't prove, but neither of these change the outcome, because now we come to my favorite part of the video. When comparing the stats between Bardock and Omni-Man, it really does seem like Death Battle purposefully warped how the numbers were presented to make it look like Omni-Man could win. They show this, with Omni-Man 20 billion times faster than FTL, appearing larger than Bardock's base form 9.5 trillion. Conveniently, also not putting the 10 times Uzaru or Super Saiyan multiplier to scale over that speed. Just to be clear, if these numbers were actually to scale, you would not be able to see Omni-Man's bar because it would be that tiny compared to Bardock, who would be hundreds to thousands of times faster than him, potentially just in base. This means that while by their logic Omni-Man might be a bit stronger, Bardock is literally never getting touched by him and blitzing him hundreds of times over. But the AP section is even crazier. They show the low end of Bardock's AP and use it to compare to Omni-Man, which is fine, but then they randomly say at the top right that actually you can scale both of them higher to 120,000 quintillions and 7,000 quintillions respectively, with no explanation as to why these values would be correct or where they got them from. So let me just ask you this. If a feat can range from literally multi-continental and, according to Death Battle, large star level, while the same characters were going to be killed by a large planet level explosion, which end of the feat should we take as more consistent with the narrative? While yes, I think it's important to acknowledge that calcs in and of themselves are subjective, but if you're going to give some random leniency to one verse and then not the other when it comes to scaling, it comes off as really biased. I hate to say this, but again, using the disc feat to get Omni-Man to star level is as reasonably as using Dr. Slump to make Bardock solar system level. Suddenly, we're not honestly power scaling and just getting as big a number as humanly possible. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I think the moment Death Battle said Bardock is at least close in AP, even while lowballing him, while also calling him drastically faster in base form, it should have been over. If you want my personal opinion, I actually think Omni-Man is likely faster, but due to the invincible splat factor, Bardock is just so durable. Omni-Man just breaks his hands even punching Bardock, even if Bardock is far slower. I don't love making these kinds of videos, but either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, thank you to my members who got to see this video early, and if you disagree with my takes, let me know how I was wrong in the comments down below. See ya.